Good morning, everyone. I'm Ganesh Subramanian, founder and CEO of Stylumia. I hope all of you are keeping well and staying safe. I welcome you all to this morning's CEO talk. We've been having a series of talks by CEOs over the last few weeks to talk about their expert views on how any fashion and lifestyle brand or retailer can navigate the COVID challenge and come out very resilient and future ready. These are the times to share and collaborate amongst ourselves. And we have been, we have been so fortunate that so many leaders were willing to spare their time to share their point of view. And today we have a very special guest, Sartaj Singh Mehta. Many of you would know him already. He's currently the Chief Product Officer of Termswear, a digital native brand revolutionizing denim with consumer-driven performance. He has a dual role. He's also Director of Design of Pepe Jeans. Sartaj comes with over 20 years of experience across design, product, and supply across leading brands like Benetton, Pepe, Aditya Birla Group, ITC, and he's also had an entrepreneurial journey with Zoe. He loves playing golf and reading. Sartaj is also recipient of Chairman's Award for Young Achiever in his stint during Aditya Birla Group for turning around the brand Allen Solly. The way this webinar will go is, we will take a few bites from Sartaj on, what he thinks about COVID and the high-level implications. And then me and Sartaj will have a chat, and we will make it very discussion-oriented. We will have a good amount of time for Q&A. So I would request all the audience to share your questions using the Q&A icon in the menu. With that brief introduction, I would like all of us to join in welcoming Sartaj.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ganesh, for the nice introduction. And it'll be a pleasure to interact with the panelists who are here and share whatever experiences I have.
Absolutely. Yeah, before we begin,
looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And thanks very much for sparing your time. And thanks all the audience for, sparing your early morning peak time on this webinar. Sartaj, before we begin, it might be good to get your high-level perspective. If you have to say, a few things about what's happening during COVID, what have you seen personally from various perspectives? If you can just share your starter thoughts on this.
Yeah, see, of course, COVID is a disruption, I think, which nobody saw coming. So it's a big disruption. It changed our lifestyle. It is changing our way of thinking. I always say the pandemic, the crisis always do bring opportunities. There are some positive sides, of course, not to negate the negativity it has generated, the health issues it has created, and the kind of drain it has created on the economy. Yeah, as of today, the other effects which have come into is that our lifestyle has completely changed. From a very hectic outdoor movements, going to offices, coming back, the whole scenario has kind of changed to work from home. A bit of positivity we saw in environment, especially if you are in Delhi, Gurgaon, far more cleaner air, more greenery popping up everywhere and things like those. But other than that, yeah, the strain on economy, the strain on health and schedule, what I mean, the discipline of life. That is, when you used to get up in the morning, kids would go to school, we would go to offices, then there'd be work, and then you'd come back home. So I think those lines are blurred. In terms of opportunities, yeah, you have restarted thinking how to work more efficiently by using technology. So that's one thing which we have seen. During my interaction with my design teams and my product development teams, we have been really spending now more time than we were actually spending, because you are more focused, there's more concentration, and also it has brought things together. Families are together in one way, companies are together, where I remember we never had this kind of everyday conversations or Zoom calls or con calls, but now we have it very often. They are very scheduled. There's a lot of discipline which has come into it. So that's the other side, I would say. And I think we have figured out the different means of developing products virtually, digitally, because today you have access to a lot of resources globally. So you can, use those modalities, use those methodologies to continue doing your product development. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, thanks, Sartaj, for those starter thoughts. And we will, the focus of this webinar is on looking at future of denim, right? And just to go back, denim has a huge heritage, starting with Levi in the mid 19th century, and it also consumes a maximum amount of energy resources in making. Right? It was, it was interesting to see that it consumes 4 to 5 times in terms of energy to make both water and other energy resources to make a pair of jeans compared to maybe a top wear like t-shirts, right? So it's very, very important, and also to look at, the current trends across, various aspects of consumer shopping. So let me start with some statistics on what we are seeing from our Stylomia platform by globally analyzing data. We just looked at the European market, and for example, in 2019, 25.5% of top sellers were denim, and that has dropped by to six. Sorry, this is from an India perspective. It has dropped around 6% of top sellers. So we are seeing a 3/4 drop in denim wear category in top sellers compared to the same period. But if you look at men's, that's for women. And in men's, actually, it has dropped from 23% to 9%, a two-third drop, right? And then we said, okay, let's look at international. Let's look at UK. Drop in men's jeans and winning quadrant by half, while it has not changed much in women's wear. And then we looked at, other categories. What is happening to denim shorts? Denim shorts, we see a significant threefold growth in winning contribution from 14 to 40%. And, in men, that's in women. In men's, we see status quo there. For high level one, maybe, this is something that we would like to listen from you is, while, movement has generally come down, right? And people are not moving as much as they were moving before in the COVID period, at least in the short term. Would that mean that, the sturdidity of denim, the ruggedness of denim, is no more required as much as it used to be? Is it a temporary phenomenon? Numbers say something, but we need to wait and watch here. Just wanted your thoughts on what are you seeing in terms of denim category shopping trends?
Ganesh, across brands, we see this. One thing which COVID has hit is it has hit your bottoms. So if you look how people are interacting with everybody, it is the upper part of your body which is visible. And when you work from home, you look at very comfortable dressing. So it could be kind of athleisure, it could be shorts which people are wearing. So I see this as a temporary passe, because temporarily our lifestyle has changed. It's become visually, it's the upper part which has become very, very important. So we are seeing the growth in the tops, and we have seen the degrowth in the bottoms, except shorts which are growing. So I see as the markets open up, as people would start going back to work, as things will normalize, it will pick up. So it'll pick up in a very big way, because today people are concentrating more on health wear, more of active wear for the time being, and then that's gonna go, because whatever shopping has happened for the active wear will primarily happen in this period, and then it'll go back to the normal shopping, which we see the trends. If we see other buying in other categories, it's starting to pick up. So denim is resilient. Denim is there to stay forever.
Absolutely. I'm sure everybody in the audience would love to hear that. And, just a point, right? Denim is also durable, long lasting.
Yes, absolutely.
And particularly the wallet is shrinking, and amount of money that people want to spend is shrinking. Do you think that people will carry over their old denims longer? Will they reduce the replacement purchases?
See, Ganesh, denim is a very, very interesting product in itself. And I had two big stints with denim. One was when I was a product director for UCB. That's where, the UCB, we didn't have denim at all. So that's the first serious line, I would say, was introduced by me and my team. And we saw phenomenal success. And of course, at Pepe Jeans, the heart of the brand is denim, and that's where you really seriously got into denim. And then of course with terms where the denim plays a very key role, and we still see denim growing there. That's one category which in our online brand hasn't fallen at all. So see, I tell you how beautiful denim is. Initially, when I was not into denim wear, I used to think it's just a one blue denim jeans and how can it be so exciting? It's only when you start working, then you realize there are many aspects to denim. There are aspects in terms of style, there's aspect in terms of finishes, there are aspects in terms of technology. And when you start working and when consumer starts liking denim and starts wearing denim, which is also, let's say, a 10-year-old phenomenon in India, where the acceptability of denim into by the consumers and also at the workplace has been steadily growing. So that gives you a tremendous this material gives a tremendous opportunity to product developers, to designers, to keep reinventing in different ways. So if we go back to 150-year-old Levi's history, it was very functional kind of a product, rugged product. From the ruggedness, it has become a stylish product. From style, now it will move into a health. So it has always adopted itself. That's a very amazing thing about denim. And like you said, the kind of energy it consumes, denim is also moving in a big way into a very sustainable era. So the future denim would be where, denim also takes care of what's happening globally in terms of sustainability, in terms of going green. So I feel that's the magic of denim. One little blue indigo, which can be, played with very beautifully.
That's amazingly put, Sartaj. I think the way you romance denim, right? It's really awesome, right? Now let's just maybe change gear and then say, what we are seeing is that COVID-19 has changed how consumers are buying, right? We are seeing digital amplification, right? And just to give you quote numbers, for example,
Yes.
in US, for example, the online share of fashion is now touching 30% in fashion, and in home it's touching 50%. Now, nobody ever imagined that these shares are possible. Otherwise it would have taken many years to come,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And consumers now are coming to physical store with a lot more intent, and I'm sure all of us can react right now or respond to this. Where when did we, if at all, when the mall opened, when we went to these malls, we went with a clear intent. This is what I have in my mind, therefore I will go shop and just get out of the mall. Right now, that's happening. So that is basically how consumers are buying is completely changing. We were also looking at what consumers are buying. Is that changing also, right? And I'll share some few statistics before I ask you to comment on this. One of the areas that we are seeing is let's look at comfort, right? And we were checking stretch denim contribution. uh, it is stretch denim in men's, for example, is seeing a huge traction. We can see supply expanding by 3 to 5 times over last year, and demand ratios are intact, which means what? We can press the pedal further, right? Therefore, stretch denim in general is seeing a huge traction and lift, while the overall denim temporarily is showing, a drop in numbers. And in women's denim, we are seeing promise also both in India and also internationally. Right, in India to a relatively lesser extent compared to internationally, because I think in India a lot of substitutable products instead of jeans, people are using jeggings and others as bottom wear along with their traditional top wear. Therefore, I think maybe we don't see a significant shift compared to men's in terms of traction on stretch. And then we moved on to look at what are the trends emerging here. Very interesting to see something which is developing in Europe, which is now called, self-sized denim. Now, which means that you don't need to make 5-6 sizes. One size fits all. Now, it has property of, it has better properties than current elastic fibers that we are using. Now, particularly with the shift in online shopping, and an online shopping, size is a bigger reason for people to return goods.
Yeah. Yeah.
And second, comfort and elastic fibers makes a lot of sense. And you club all of this, we see that also shaping up. So there is comfort shaping up, there is size innovation which is happening, online is drifting. Therefore, just wanted to have your view on what do you think, or what people buy is changing based on what you're seeing in the last few weeks, and maybe some views on the future.
Yeah. So this hasn't started now. This has just got amplified now. So if we go back to 2000, 2003, when we used to do Alan Solly chinos, they used to be wrinkle free, cotton, pure cotton, and stretch was more for women's wear. And I remember when we were trying to sell stretch pants those days, it was a uphill task for us. The men were not used to it. The comfort of stretch wasn't known. Now let's look at the scenario today. Pepe, we are a complete stretch brand. We don't sell anything which is not stretch. It doesn't work anymore. We have just launched super stretch on terms wear because that's where we also realize that consumer is becoming comfortable with it. The comfort is becoming a very big factor. The movement inside the home, where you're lying down, getting up, and doing a lot of things in one go is becoming acceptable. The consumer is now much more fitter. He's more chicer. He's more smarter. He doesn't want to hide his curves now. So that's a one big change which has also happened. Uh, you are right that the online people would look for stretch. In fact, there's a line in Pepe called Powerflex. It's the most premium line. We introduced it in 2 years ago, where the stretch capacity of a product is more than 50%. It is the best selling denim for us. 5,000 rupees, average of 4,400. It has just changed our averages, and consumers just like it, love it. And we know when they come back, that experience they always keep with themselves. So for me, I also shifted a lot towards that power flex denim, because the kind of comfort I get in it is unbelievable and amazing, and it retains shapes. So from the power flex, the next move which you have already discussed is the one size fits all. So that's how the stretch is playing a big role. Whether you're 32 waist, 34 waist, 36 waist, you wear it and it adjusts to your body. Typically, it has started as a women's wear. That's where the more acceptance has started now, and of course, it will come to men's. That's how it is. So I think stretch is playing a very, very big role because it enhances the comfort of rigid denim. That's from where the denim actually came, and it makes you as comfortable as chinos now, and the sturdiness and the ability to retain shape, and it is something which you can wear for a longer time. The color is easy going for Indian conditions. So I think those are the factors which have influenced buying or influencing buying right now.
Yeah, thanks, Sataj. I think you have a lot more data to now validate, saying that this is maybe a trend which is getting amplified, right?
Yes.
And just a point to all, request to all audience, if you can just use the Q&A option. We have started receiving some questions. It'll be great if you can start putting your questions as we keep discussing. Let me just add on to this question, right? As you have discussed also, that it's now comfort, home, work, play, everything is coming together. It's basically all parts of life are coming together. In my previous webinar, I called it, we all need to make life wear, right?
Yeah,
you have to move from saying that work wear, play wear to life wear. Now in that context, if you look at the role of denim, for example, in the area of active, is relatively low for how denim is going to adapt to some of the new lifewear context. For example, maybe if you just walk around, we don't see too many people wearing something denimish when they are working out. Now, how do you see any reinvention happening in that area? Because that's becoming, active lifestyle is becoming pretty important these days.
Ganesh, see, there's always a market leader. So athletics or sportswear or activewear, what we call, there have been 3-4 giants sitting, spending billions of dollars, research, product enhancement, and obviously it's what consumer is looking for. So denim has just shifted its focus into lifestyle and lifewear. You will be surprised to know we do athleisure in Pepe, and we did indigo athleisure in Pepe. So denim has other aspects also. So one is a pure bottom denim, and then how you use indigo into other things, and that's also denim. And there also we developed some products for women especially, which are athleisure denim. So that's, it's building, every when you are a category giant like denim, and when you move into another category, it takes that time because it would want to do things right. First time right, you won't have any opportunity. So I see a lot of movement there as lifestyles are changing, as our habits are changing. Like you're saying, the boundaries are blurring. So denim also will very beautifully, merge into your lifestyle apparel very quickly, and you'll see it happen. There's already a lot of movement. There's already a lot of research happening. There's already a lot of machinery which is coming in. So if I want to go to gym looking, very cool in products other than which everybody is wearing, so that's where the denim would come, and it will come. So it may not come like a real denim kind of a thing. It will come like a indigo uh, developed, and that's how it is gonna come.
Got it. Interesting to know that. Other thing which we are seeing also now is, I would call it, will consumers move from buy and throw to buy to keep? Right.
Just to add,
Yes.
we are
Go ahead.
introduced masks, which are like for everyday wear, fashion masks. We've also introduced indigo masks. So you see how the denim comes slowly into lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. And absolutely. I think it's so versatile, right? In terms of
Yes, absolutely.
adaptation in every
Yeah.
place. Interesting to know that. So what I was trying to say is that, we see a phenomenon of consumers moving from buy and throw to buy to keep. And actually denim sits fairly there. For example, it's very durable. So now, then we looked at, it's just not about the fabric and durability. It's also about the look and feel, right? So therefore, we see that maybe the fad might come down and the classics might stay for longer, right? Maybe in the short, medium term. So we try to look at some numbers here. For a moment, let's assume that distress is an element of fashion.
Yeah.
Right? And we looked at percentage contribution of distress between 2019 and 20. Is there a shift during the COVID days vis-a-vis same time last year? What we see is it's not that overnight it has happened. We see a progression where we see close to, in women, 70% clean look in winning products. Right? And men also, it's not bad. It's moved from 60 to 75%. So there is a good progression of clean looking products winning in denim. So how do you see this? What do you think is the reason why this is happening, and how do you see this panning out?
See, the tear is always a part of fashion. So what happens? The products keep reinventing themselves, because if you want to generate demand, there's always a reinvention. There's a reinvention in polos. There's a reinvention in round necks. Denim has the maximum pressure to reinvent itself. Like I said, it's one blue jeans. So the capability and capacity of denim to reinvent itself is very high. And the whole tear and torn jeans came in 2 years ago. So that was like reinventing yourself, telling people, okay, this is the way you can also wear. So I think that fad was high in 18, 19, 19, it kind of peaked. And then, you overcome that and people realize, no, denim is something which I would like to keep for more time, because if you wear a torn denim, the more you wash it, the more the tear becomes big. And after some time you say, okay, now I don't want to wear it. So, but if you buy a good pair of jeans, you love to keep it. Jeans that way is more sustainable because it's less use and throw. All other products are far more use and throw. So I may throw 10 polos to one jeans. So in a long run, it kind of neutralizes everything. So a good pair of denim, you love to keep it. I wear a lot of denim brands because that also helps me understand different products and different brands. And there is some I would not like to name, I retain. And it's very, very difficult for me to throw that. But it takes me, a day. If I decide I want to remove my polos, remove my round necks, I do it very quickly, because, they are mostly fashion oriented, and you overcome a particular set for that season very quickly. It could be color, it could be graphic, it could be anything. But denim is beautiful. If you have a nice pair of denim, it becomes very difficult, even if your wardrobe is full, to throw that pair. Sometimes you do it because you want new pairs to come in. So I think denim that way is far more sustainable.
We can call you a denim collector, I'm sure. The kind of words that you're using, denim is beautiful, denim is amazing. No, we can really see the passion that you have for denim. Now, these days, Sartaj, I think very, very important for brands to build trust with consumers, right? I think trust is important, because when particularly things are uncertain, consumers tend to look for safety, right? Now, we were looking at, is there a data which can substantiate this? Therefore, we looked at brand contribution to denim in terms of winning products, right? Based on our platform. And interesting that, and that, typically denim category is brand sensitive.
Yes.
You all know that, right? And penetrating that category from an unknown name is tough. But we see a very interesting data. Maybe it is short-lived, but still it's important to know that. In India, for example, the unbranded products are gaining significant traction in top selling products in the denim category. It used to be 30% branded contribution in winners. Now it's dropped to 10%. We are seeing a two-third drop in branded products in winning, right? Maybe consumers are now looking for actually value, right? They're also looking to save money, right? But just wanted your viewpoint because you cut across various channels, etc. But how do you see this? While denim demand bottom has an impact, plus if branded starts to see some impact, then it will have him. Maybe it's a short-lived one, but denim is a very strong brand-sensitive category. Your viewpoints on that?
See, any good brand will always value the consumer. So there are, in fact, in India, if you look at all brands, you can really count them. And there are brands who are doing well, and there are brands who are struggling. So if you are able to maintain the value perception for a consumer in your brand, then your brand is there will always be winners in the denim category. So if you are creating products, what I call commoditization of design, which has become extremely big phenomenon in India, because the way corporatization of brands happen, their organizations have become bigger. So organizations became very number centric, that I need 200 denim, I need 100 denim, I need 50 denim. So a lot of time, the pressure of developing a product is so high, the time constraint, that you start developing any kind of a product. So that's where the problem happens. But if you let me put a strategy for Pepe. We have a building blocks. We have something called Powerflex. We have something called Softflex. We have something called StretchX. We have something called Chinox. So we understand our consumer. We understand each category. We understand the value consumer sees in a specific product he picks up. So once you do that, then you are a winner. So you know your numbers are intact. You know you're doing well. You know consumer is able to find that specific product. The moment you leave all this and you start creating generic products, which you can see, so then consumer, there's no wow factor. Then consumer doesn't see appeal in something, let's say if it is at 2,500 and something at 1,799, if they're similar in all aspects, maybe you say it's better, I'll pay 1,799 and you'll live with it. But the moment you keep this consumer product value perception for a category you are building and the way you're building it, then it remains intact. That's my viewpoint.
Very interesting. Very interesting, Sartaj. I think it's not about, therefore, innovation is the key. Everything you're talked about right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You just need to ensure that brands need to be ahead. Brands need to innovate and provide value and people can realize that value.
Yeah, and don't create commodity. Problem today has become everything is slowly becoming commodity. So commodity will never have a value.
Yeah, very interesting point. I think what we'll also do is through our data platform, we'll also look at, is the loss in brand share because of commoditized products?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it is.
That'll be a very interesting insight to look at. Now let's moving on. Now what we see as a trend right now is it's all brands are now going direct to consumer.
Yes.
Right. DTC is becoming very, very critical. Therefore, digital is one way of DTC. Maybe Omni is another way of DTC. Now, when you're going direct to consumer, do you think that brands need to keep do some things differently than they have done before? For example, we've heard in one of our previous panels we had with a panel of designers. What they mentioned was that they were trying something like, for example, when people have a lot of time, they're very emotionally connected to themselves. There's a lot of reflection happening, and people are getting back to DIY, for example. We saw DIY as a trend, and there is a DIY as a search intent in Google is now running 2 to 3x in the last few weeks.
Wow.
Now, what can denim brands do or denim players do to capitalize on this intent of DIY?
Yeah, see, I don't know whether you have noticed or not, you would have perhaps in some of our showrooms and other brands also, we have customization, something called, when you walk in and you buy a pair of jeans and still you want to enhance it, still you want to, customize it in whatever way. So we let them do it, whether it's painting, studying, writing names, laser, whatever. So I think these times also bring out a lot of creativity in you. People generally have become far more smarter. Their dressing sense has improved tremendously. So I'm sure inside every individual, there's a designer somewhere. There's a guy who wants to create. And that's where, you can, that same physical store model can be brought on the digital, because you look, everything is becoming digital. I remember when we started Zovi.com in 2011, and, we got all kind of viewpoints, where have these guys done? And I started with Kavinder, that what has gone wrong with them. And that time I was a product director, UCB, India, Southeast Asia. To leave that and come here was a big challenge. But it was so interesting. It was so amazing to see how close you go to the consumer on a digital platform. On a physical platform, what happens? You design 1 year in advance, then your range goes, and 6 months after that. So after 1.5 years, you come to know what happened to your products. That this tea which you are designing, here the time has just come down to 3 to 4 months. Plus, every day you can check what's happening to the products you created. It's phenomenal. Yesterday, we were slicing our one line, and we found that black and white products do extremely well in certain pin codes. And when you put color, the whole India comes through. So unbelievable. I think these kind of, when you keep slicing everything down, you find amazing inputs. That's why personally, digital world is so interesting for me, because that's where you're actually going very, very closer to the consumer. Physical world, it's beautiful in terms of experience. You actually try something, you decide, you take your time. That's a different experience. That's where the romancing the consumer happens. But you actually come to know about your creation after a year and a half. So there's a big lag there.
Yeah. Sartaj, actually, when I speak to you now, I see somebody who has been in the creative space for so long, and now talking about a lot of data, slicing, dicing, understanding pin code. Now, this is not normally you hear in a conversation like this, but that brings me to a very interesting point, right? Now, you have been somebody who have been in the analog world for a long time, continue to be in the analog world. You're also in the digital world now, and therefore, role of technology, right, in creation for the future. For how do you see role of technology? It's just not technology in the product. Using technology, you talked about, right? Digital gives you feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Today, if I can sit and I can think of designing fighter planes, I can think how to go about it. There's so much of data. You know how a plane flies, what kind of angle of attack it is, what kind of armaments it can carry. So you know how to put things together. You can access what's happening to the world, which part of geography allow you what kind of things, how are living habits of people in different parts of the country. So when you start designing, Ganesh, over a period of time with experience, you realize that designing, just to give a bit of background, I had flown with the Indian Air Force for a year or so. I used to fly helicopters. And after 20 years, when I compare designing to flying, I think designing is far more challenging, because you're looking at those aspects which are very, very soft, where you're looking at habits, where you're looking at preferences, where you're looking at a changing world. So those kind of things, it has taught me over a period of time, the way I got inducted into the industry, baptism by fire, that you need to understand those aspects of consumers, which actually becomes a platform for your designing. Designing is not just sitting and designing 20 things in a day. It doesn't work. Designing is price driven, designing is resource driven. Designing is uh, 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 designing is taste driven, where what is the taste now, where the people are moving, how they are dressing up, what's happening to the countries, what's happening to the regions. So that's how the designing happens. That's why I kind of love it, because every 3 months a new challenge pops up. Whatever you have done is a history, whether it is done well or it's not done well. And every time you work hard towards creating a hit, you work hard towards creating a wow kind of a offering, then I would say, wow, that's designing. When I look at something, when I do my research, the attention, your span is so low now. The span, even amongst your buyers, is so low that if you don't create a wow product, it just slips very quickly. So that's where the designing is heading towards. So digital world is a very, very big asset, because sitting in one small room, you can access anything in the world today to a very, very large extent. And if I go back 25 years, we used to cut magazines, we used to bring magazines from fair, you used to put things together. We were trying to uh, trying to get all that to assimilate knowledge in whatever way we could. But today it's wonderful. Today it's unbelievable. So I keep telling my designers, you're lucky that that's the kind of access you have, the kind of approach you have. You can validate your thinking. You can, yeah. Another thing, one has to be extremely careful that when you have so much data coming in, you have to have some sense of creativity to be intact, because you will get influenced a lot. It'll happen, and you look at a MacBook. If you want to design a computer, you may like to design like a MacBook. The trick is, if you can take those aspects of Mac and design a product which is very friendly, completely a different thing, something foldable, something like a glove, something on your hand. So that's that balance you need to create and maintain. Otherwise, very quickly you can become me too. Also, it depends on the objectives of your design and what you are designing, for whom you are designing. So interesting world.
No, no, amazing. I think that analogy of flying to design, and and it keeps you on your toes all the time, and there's something new happening all the time, and I'm sure you can't put better words than what you have said to explain both the challenge and opportunity today of using technology. At the same time, be careful so that you have your own DNA. Use all of that data, align to that DNA, so that you stay relevant. Right?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's the key, right? You stay relevant with your unique signature.
Yes. Yeah. Design is all about staying relevant.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Now, let me just move on before we open it to the Q&A, maybe the last question. I think there is nothing which is, discussion will be complete unless we talk about creating something which is sustainable. And I think that's a huge drive. We call it ethics is greater than aesthetics. And we are moving to that space. Maybe ethics is equivalent to aesthetics or greater than aesthetics. What we were seeing is that we're seeing a trend where there is, for example, a huge jump in sales of products which are pre-owned products, which we are seeing globally. And second, upcycling, which is happening, right? There are now companies which are upcycling old products. We know, right? A lot of products don't do well, right? Of course, everybody is trying to minimize that, but you always sit with a lot of denim, maybe sitting with you. And denim is a category which is very amenable for doing something on top of it, right? Now, how do you see this? And second, do you think brands can take this? There are platforms doing this, whether real platform or there are other platforms there. But now the question is that, do you think brands should also get into, right, the overall circularity of fashion, right? Be it upcycling, be it raw material impacts, the finishes, treatments, all of that, and plus use of technology to minimize errors and all of that. But how do you see brands taking this upcycling and other parts, and your views on that?
Yeah. So let me first give example of Pepe. We introduced Earth Denim this autumn winter. Now we'll be carrying it to spring summer. The Earth Denim, the whole objective was green washes, green chemicals, recycled fabric. Before this, we had another range called Heritage, where we said, okay, let's start looking at sustainability, because as an individual, I believe in our charity also. We say our soul is also recycled. If our soul is recycled, I think it's a high time we understand that everything needs to be recycled in this world, so that the globe becomes sustainable. And being in India, being in the northern India, you are able to see the impact of environment. When pollution levels are high, when there's too much of smoke in the air, what happens when you breathe fresh? Like these days, I say we are breathing fresh. Or when I play golf, I breathe fresh. So you start valuing this. Okay, now how do you bring it to an organization? So this all is happening all across the world. There are cues. There are green chemicals. Your the physical finishes are going out and technical finishes are coming in. So in denims, you have one chemical finish and one physical finish. So we are slowly, as a brand and some other brands also, are getting into this, where they are looking at sustainability as a very, very big item. There's a line which is called visor wash in Global Pepe, where the usage of water has dropped down to less than a bucket from the millions of buckets you use to create one denim to we would want to go down to single bucket. So there's work happening as a brands, how we are bringing in responsibility. We are creating these lines. Like I said, earth denim is one, which we call it a green denim. Then we use are fabrics which reuses the denim which has come back from the market. So it's like a same old concept of kabadi wala and raddi wala, which was such a big entity of our society, which unfortunately has disappeared, but we still use him. So I believe in those concepts, and brands are believing in those concepts, and there's a consistent endeavor everywhere to recycle for us all. Water being used denim is 100% recycled. We don't use fresh water. The mills we work with. We are now trying to use as much as our old recycled denim into the fabric. It's a process where the 20% has to be old, 80% has to be new. So I'm sure it'll also improve over a period of time. We're looking at green chemicals which are not harmful. Other than that, there's a lot of work happening itself on the natural indigo. As of today, a bit expensive, but people are working on it. There's a hemp indigo, then different mixtures which are coming, because cotton itself takes a lot of water. So hemp is coming in as a replacement. There's a recycled poly which is coming into being reused into a denim in a big way, like the way it is being used in shoes. So there's a whole lot of initiatives happening there. And I think another 3 to 4 to 5 years, you'll see a tremendous change in denim, especially the leading denim brands, the responsible denim brands will become very, very sustainable. It's just a matter of time.
No, absolutely. I think I can't agree more. And Future is being a responsible brand, and we were looking at, I don't know, what percentage of your products are using this sustainability route, which is purely large proportion of that should be sustainable.
See, as of today, if I look at denim, we are around 20%. But for the COVID, our objective were very, very high. Global Pepe had set their marks of doing more than 1 million pieces into sustainable. So I think we would also eventually go there, and we would like every denim to be sustainable. We would like every denim to use less chemicals, less physical processes, less water, and as much as possible everything recycled. So I think 7 to 10 years, possibly the whole denim could be recycled.
Absolutely.
So there may not be a. So I think it's happening, because of course there's a cost to it, and the mills are already working on it, because we work with the mills and we know, we have gone through their processes, their offerings, their product. Yeah, there's a lot of work happening, which is a very, very good sign and a very healthy sign, I would say.
So we were looking at some data on, Zara has a line called now Join Life, which is a sustainable range by itself.
Join Life.
Yeah, 20 to 30% of those denim products of Zara are in the sustainable range right now for men and women.
Yes.
And for kids, it's surprising. It's close to 50%. Right.
Yeah, and, that's a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, and that's the trend that we are seeing. Great. What we'll do is now we'll thanks Sartaj for very valuable insights. I think the passion was it's so visible, and I'm sure you've energized all of us. Let's move on to audience questions.
Thank you.
And this question is from Kumar. As people going for more comfort wear and working from home more, what kind of breathable fabrics can be found in denim category?
See, denim today does, there's already a Cool Max, which has, this is a fabric I'm talking of, which is there which leads to moisture management. In termswear.com, I don't know whether you have gone on our site or not. We do with what is called moisture management finish on our products, because we also believe that our denim needs to be sustainable. It needs to be on the side of health. So there are products which are taking 2 routes. One is the fabric route, like a Cool Max fabric, which works like a dry tech kind of fabric on denim, is able to manage the moisture. And second is the finish route, which we take by nanotechnology. You bring in that kind of breathability into the denim.
Thanks. Let's, Umang Shah's next question. Indian brands are only focused selling through celebrity or price points, never emphasis on sustainable or eco-friendly fabric or finishes. They said it's difficult to show this to customer. Any remedies to offer?
There is always a ecosystem which gets developed in each country, and there's a trend which comes up. So that was there. A lot of brands, of course, that's the easiest route to market when you want to penetrate, when you want consumer to know about your brand, and celebrity route is always the easiest one. But now that's going to change very quickly, and it's already changing. That we all are working towards sustainable fabric, sustainable chemicals, sustainable processes. Just to tell you, though of course everybody uses a recycled and a certain grade of poly bags for their packaging, we are looking at in terms using packaging which is not from plastic. So there's already a lot of work happening. Then there are suppliers who have done this great job, and it's all in the making. So it'll take, like I said, 3 to 5 years. You'll see a big shift. You will see sustainability becoming extremely big. Sustainability has already become very big in your electricity and lighting. Your CFL has gone. CFLs have gone out. Your if you look at your air conditioning, things have changed there. If you look at refrigeration, things have changed there. So clothing things will also change, and they're already changing.
Yeah, next question is from Rishi Tandon. Denim prices are higher compared to knit joggers, and do we see that as a concern? And is there a risk to cost product shift?
See, it depends. I would say from brand to brand, from usage, because denim has more use than a jogger itself. And there is a basic cost of every product. So there's a cost being made at X and cost being made at X plus Y. And of course, it translates into MRP then. So I don't see whenever new category comes in, not necessarily a category which is not able to reinvent will go out. Categories which go out are which are not able to reinvent themselves. So I don't see, that's my viewpoint, that it would people just start wearing only joggers. That's not going to happen, because I'm sure Ganesh can tell you the number percentage. It will be growing, but it will not happen that only joggers will be worn.
Yeah. So next question is, from an anonymous attendee, current men and women mix in denim is 70-30. And how can we reduce this skewness and make women's denim more saleable?
See, women, you must understand that ethnic is a very, very big market. So it's more to do with lifestyle changes rather than a gender percentage. So as women are adopting more global kind of, I would not say Western, more global now, global kind of attire. So automatically you'll see that going up, because see, in their wardrobe, average Indian women, if you'll take, it could be 70 ethnic, 30 Western. As you keep coming towards metro, it is could be somewhere like 60-40. Big cities could be 50-50. But new generations, if you look at data and if you look at kids, the statistics will change dramatically. So it'll happen over a period of time. It won't happen overnight.
One more question from Rishi Tandon. Denim jeans have always been preferred as raw, as most of the consumers who understand jeans want it to fade naturally. With comfort coming in, what happens to raw denims?
Okay, see, like I said, denim has a capability to reintroduce itself, and it has been doing it diligently. It has been doing it year after year. It has got from raw into stretch, from wovens into knitted. You will be surprised. 4 years ago, when I went to Arvind Mills in one of my visits, they were worried. Whether the knitted denim will continue. Is it a fashion? Will it go out? Everywhere we want to go and sell, they only want knitted denim. So uh, I think it has tremendous capability to keep adopting itself, and when the comfort comes in, it'll take many shapes. It'll take many uh, technologies. It'll keep reinventing itself. So from raw to comfort to style to technology to many things. You can do a lot in it. It'll all depend who does it and how does it happen.
Yeah, there's another question from Amit Dashora. With the increase of e-com share, how important would be touch and feel in hierarchy of making decision for consumer? It is still important while doing fabric and finish selection for product teams. How do we keep
Yeah, very, very important. See, online is a platform. When you buy a TV has to have specific resolution. It has to have the features which you are buying it for. So the basic feature of a garment is touch and feel. So when the ecosystem develops, when you start ordering from online, the consumer understands that whatever is being specified there has been taken care of the creators. So I think that kind of understanding has come. 5, 10 years ago, this was a question people used to be worried, that how will that happen? How will that happen? But now I think you adopt, and consumers are adopting. They understand. They understand when they look at the product attributes, when they read the material, they understand. They have that sense. That's why things are selling on online. That's why digital has become so acceptable. You can sometimes feel the fabric through visual, through eyes. If you look at the drape, if you look at the model wearing it and the movement of the model sometimes, and of course it can happen that it may not live up to your expectation, or sometimes it's better. But we at the back end, when we look at the product, we understand what consumer wants. We are always trying to understand what consumer is wanting, not what we want, and what we can, what kind of pull we can create for consumer.
This is the last question. What should be a healthy sales contribution of denim to overall for a brand with all genders, all categories?
Well, it's very strategic question. So it will depend, depend brand to brand. We believe that our brand should be around 50%, but trends change. Then there are short trends which are now in, like the tops are becoming very, very big. So the shifts can happen, but typically it's a brand strategy. So I won't be able to pinpoint that. It will depend brand to brand.
Absolutely right. Thanks everyone for your very, very thoughtful question. Thanks Sartaj for responding to each one of them. And if you have to just maybe give us 3 takeaways, right? What all the denim professionals, denim designers out here, right? What are the 3 things, if you have to say, to maybe as closing remarks?
Yeah, I think look at innovation in denim, work towards sustainability, like we mentioned, and like Ganesh has said, make it big. Create products for creating that wow factor rather than just creating a new wash. And look at other technologies also, which are happening everywhere in the world. There are a lot of work happening on the technology. So look at that aspect also. Don't look only at a fashion aspect. That's one aspect of the product element. Look at the technological aspect. So I think these 3 things.
Wonderful, Sartaj. I think today you were able to take us through a world of denim, and it was a different world. And the way you described it, what resonates with me is denim is beautiful. Denim reinvents, I think, philosophical, right? Why not we reinvent ourselves like denim rather than what do we do with denim? Rather say that let's become like denim. Let's reinvent over time. And these are times also to continue to reinvent and apply technologies everywhere, and take data in its right form and create your own signature always, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And thank you very much. And thanks all the audience for your participation.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Wish you all a great time ahead and stay safe.
Thanks. Stay safe. Thanks.